Hello, and welcome to the Digital Workplace Summit. In this session, we're going to discuss how to find and protect your sensitive data with Microsoft 365 Data Loss Prevention. We will cover what is Microsoft 365 Data Loss Prevention, the what and why to protecting sensitive data, and how to begin using data loss prevention. My name is Andy Bueno, and I'm a senior consultant in the infrastructure practice with Catapult Systems. In the digital workplace maturity model, DLP is key in progressing maturity in the compliance stack. DLP is the first step in automating your data protection. Microsoft 365 data loss prevention combines technology, strategies, and processes to prevent unauthorized personnel from accessing your organization's sensitive information. DLP also refers to tools and techniques that help administrators monitor and manage the data being transmitted. This helps prevent employees from sending confidential data outside of your organization. DLP technologies will help protect your data while it's in use, in motion, and at rest. The purpose of DLP in Office 365 is to detect, protect, and monitor your sensitive data. Detection through policy scanning for sensitive information types with over 200 built-in templates, or you can create your own custom templates to fit your organization's needs. Protect your data with the utilization of policy tips to users on how the data should be handled. We can also restrict when and how the data can be shared. Monitor. We have the ability to track policy violations and consume DLP information in third-party tools leveraging built-in APIs. Data can also be piped to Defender for Cloud App and Sentinel for further control as well. Introduced in late 2020, Endpoint DLP allows you to take further control of your data, extending from your cloud environment to your endpoints. You can onboard systems through Endpoint DLP, or if you already have devices in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, those devices will automatically show up in the list of devices. You can just turn on device monitoring and start using Endpoint DLP. Now you have the ability to audit and restrict activities on Windows devices. And through integration with Defender for Cloud apps, you can prevent the sharing of documents with third party file sharing tools like Google Drive, Dropbox, or Box. Endpoint DLP also expands insider rights management investigations to endpoints. And audit mode allows you to review the impact of the policies prior to their enforcement. We also have DLP for Teams that can automatically block messages that contain sensitive information and help educate end users to protect their critical data. The unified classification engine supports over 90 sensitive information types, as well as the ability to create custom info types. Now that we know what Microsoft 365 data loss prevention is, let's talk about what is sensitive data and why you need to protect it. So, sensitive data is different for every organization, but these are some of the common sensitive data types. Financial data, things like credit cards, routing numbers, bank information. Health data, personal health information or medical records. Proprietary data, company records, client information, or intellectual property. Personally identifiable information, or PII, things like social security numbers or driver's license numbers. Government regulations are constantly increasing the need for responsible usage of personal data. Not complying with these regulations can result in fines, loss of licenses, and lower credibility with regulators and customers. What can happen to your organization if data is leaked or exposed? To most organizations, fines are not the most important risk of being non compliant. Loss of trust is the number one fear. If your customers don't trust you with their data, they won't do business with you. Most customers now require regulatory compliance before they will consider even doing business. If a breach happens, your name will be in the news and it'll damage your reputation and trust. No organization wants to be known or remembered for the breach that occurred and the data they lost. We all remember several company names that have suffered data breaches and ended up in the news recently. And finally, fines. Although not the most important consequence, it is still very important and has substantial impact on businesses. So now let's begin using DLP. The Microsoft 365 data classification solution is a great place to start understanding what sensitive information might need to be protected. Content Explorer identifies the email and documents in your organization that contain sensitive information. Content Explorer uses the built-in sensitive info types in Microsoft 365 compliance and any custom sensitive info types you define to identify the content. Activity Explorer includes information on activities related to content that contains sensitive information. The top portion of the screen includes a histogram of various activities over time, while the bottom portion lists each recorded activity. Just like the Content Explorer, much of the data generated by Activity Explorer requires little or no configuration. When deciding on what information to protect, you can start with the dozens of DLP templates or create a custom policy that you build from scratch. Custom policies are often used when protecting sensitive information specific to your organization, like employee identification numbers. While templates are often the starting point for protecting sensitive information common to many organizations, like credit card numbers or social security numbers. DLP policy templates consist of one or more sensitive info types grouped together into the following categories: financial, medical and health, and privacy. You can also select to create a custom DLP policy from scratch. If you need to protect labeled content, you'll also be able to choose labels later in the process. Now that you've found what sensitive data is out there and where it is, we can create your DLP protection policy. First, start by choosing the location of the data you want to protect. As stated earlier, you can apply DLP policies to email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and endpoints. Next, define the conditions to trigger your DLP policy. You can choose from the match confidence level and the match instance count. Now you can create actions to encrypt the content, block upload to third-party apps, and restrict access. DLP policies can also be configured to present users with policy tips and notifications to educate the end user on how to protect the sensitive data. Finally, the DLP policy can be configured to send incident reports to admins for review. DLP policies can potentially impact every user in the organization. You can test the policy to evaluate how it will perform prior to enabling it. The first option, I'd like to test it out first, is recommended for any new policy you configure. You can also elect to show or hide policy tips while testing out the policy to limit the impact on users while you're conducting your testing. Thank you for joining.